So first things first, this ceremony was put on in Switzerland for the opening of the tunnel. World leaders from all over Europe, mostly leaders from Germany, France, and Italy were invited, which makes sense being as that's who this tunnel would affect most, but it also seemed to spook a lot of people, and I can kinda understand why once it gets going.
Let this sink in here for a moment. This is how the secular world, a Russian newspaper, described this event, where 4 heads of state were at. Even the secular world states that it was a freak show and that it strongly hinted at and conveyed to them that the gates of hell were open. That's how blatant this show was.
Before the ceremony began, the tunnel was blessed by a priest, and then right after that, this satanic display arose. So the first thing we have here is a large group of people walking into the center of the tunnel almost like they're dazed or under the control of the music. The way they walk has been likened to a zombified state by pretty much anyone who did touch on this video. At about 5 minutes in, the construction workers become a bit manic, like they don't know what they're doing. And then right after that, this last train car brings in a group of people who are dressed in more revealing clothing, and accompanying them is what most have identified as a fallen angel, which is apparently an angel that disobeyed God and became corrupt. I know this seems like a bit of a stretch, but once the ceremony really gets going, there's absolutely no confusion here on this. There's even a scene in here that may even be an imagining of the fallen angel corrupting people. After this, another card is rolled in with what people refer to as demonic creatures, and then with them is a goat man, who typically represents Satan in ancient scribbles. At around 14 minutes, we see this goat is being worshipped, and people are bringing him offerings of trees, which I guess are upside-down trees? Now, I never knew this, but apparently this symbolizes an upside-down cross, or the tree of death, which really does fit the theme here.
Here we see the Green Man is escorted out, surrounded by all the goat horns, and the Green Man, of course, is synonymous with Cernunnos, the horned god of the underworld.
Right after that, though, this man gets on a stage and sings in gibberish, and he even speaks in gibberish. It's kind of like he's calling for Satan, and Satan does respond. Right after that, the man who is singing sits down and everyone around him starts celebrating. Possibly celebrating the arrival of Satan? Now, if that was it, fine. It's freaking strange, but the next half of this display actually takes place outside. Okay, so here we are in part 2. Everyone's gone outside, and we start off again with a large group of construction workers walking in a daze, as though again they're being controlled by the music. They make their way up to this platform where a giant screen sits, and once they get up there, the workers start climbing up the wall and removing rock to form this tunnel. Honestly, it's part 2 that gets really weird. Instead of opening a tunnel, they seem to open up a portal, and they perform this ritualistic dance in order to open it up.
The workers form an 8-spoked wheel just before they breach through the mountain wall. 8-spoked wheels are depicted as time and space mechanisms throughout ancient artworks. They are synonymous with transcending space-time. This is why CERN's detectors, particularly the Atlas detector, is designed after the 8-spoked wheel, the 8-spoked wheel of time, because it is a time and space mechanism. This, make no mistake, is not by accident.
For example, apparently if you're familiar with CERN, then this makes sense. CERN is located in Switzerland, and they work with what some have named evil particles that could rip a hole in our dimension and let demons in, or completely collapse our universe entirely.
The LHC is the world's largest and most powerful machine and is actually used to collide particles at close to the speed of light in a
gives these
bit.
computers access to these new resources, maybe you could call them parallel universes, in order to do something that you couldn't otherwise do. So the way I think about it is that the shadows of these parallel worlds overlap with ours, and if we're smart enough, we can dive into them and grab their resources and pull them back into ours to make an effect in our world. Now, this may sound very odd to you and bizarre, and in fact, I am using language that a normal theoretical physicist probably wouldn't use.
Even RT News wrote an article on CERN and revealed the quote-unquote curious connection between Apollo and CERN. Quote, now on top of all the speculation as to what CERN scientists are really attempting to do with their LHC, many observers cannot help but notice that the town in France where CERN is partially situated is called St. Guinis Poyi. The name Poyi comes from the Latin Apolliacum, and it is believed that in Roman times a temple existed in honor of Apollo, and the people who lived there believed that it is a gateway to the underworld. It is interesting to note that CERN is built on the same spot. End quote.